Who am I really? This is not just a question that arises out of curiosity. It is not something you ask to pass the time. It is not even a philosophical idea to be debated in words. It is the deepest and most fundamental question of human life. Every other question you ask is about the world outside, about people, about situations, about things you can gather and lose. But this question turns the light inward and asks about the one who is experiencing everything. If you do not know who you are, you can gather mountains of information about the universe and still live in ignorance. Because without self-knowledge, everything else is only a decoration on the surface, while the core remains unseen. Sadhguru reminds us again and again that this question is not meant to be answered intellectually. It is not about arriving at a definition, a phrase, or a belief. When you say, I am a soul, I am consciousness, I am divine, these are still words. They may give you temporary satisfaction, but they are borrowed conclusions. The real answer does not come in words, it comes in experience. If you ask sincerely, if you hold the question in the very core of your being without rushing to an answer, then slowly the layers of illusion begin to peel away. Most people live identified with their body. They say, I am tall, I am short, I am strong, I am weak. But the body is something you gathered from the soil. The food you eat becomes flesh and bone. What you eat today becomes your blood tomorrow. You were not born with this body. You built it cell by cell. One day when you die, you will drop it back into the earth. How can you be something that you constantly gather and will one day lose? The body is yours, but it is not you. Then people say, I am my mind, I am my thoughts, I am my emotions. But where did they come from? Your thoughts are shaped by the information you have consumed, the culture you live in, the influences around you. Your emotions are responses to your thoughts and memories. The mind is like a software, constantly recording and replaying. But you are not the content of your mind. You are the one who knows that the mind is active. You are the witness to the thought process. If you can observe your thoughts, then clearly you are not your thoughts. If you can notice your emotions rising and falling, then clearly you are not your emotions either. So if you are not the body and not the mind, then who are you? This is where the seeker's journey begins. The intellect wants a neat answer, but the truth cannot be boxed into words. Sadhguru says, do not jump to a conclusion. Remain with the question. If you do not patch it with quick answers, if you allow it to burn within you, then your entire perception will sharpen. You will not be satisfied with second-hand truths. You will not rest until you know by direct experience. To know who you are is not to adopt a belief, but to remove everything that you are not. It is a process of peeling away the false. When all that you are not is gone, what remains is you. That which remains is not an object that can be described, but the very subject of all experience. That is why mystics fall silent when asked to define it. They can only point, they can only guide you inward, because what you are is not something to be grasped with thought. It is the basis of thought itself. Look at life around you. A tree does not ask, who am I? A dog does not wonder, who am I? The sun rises and sets, galaxies whirl, rivers flow, but none of them are burdened with this question. Only the human being has the awareness to ask, who am I really? This is not a curse, though many feel it as a restlessness. It is the greatest privilege of being human, because it means you are not limited to survival. Eating, sleeping, reproducing, and dying may be enough for animals, but for a human being, it is not enough. Something within longs to go beyond. That longing is the spiritual dimension of life. When you pursue that longing consciously, you realize that life is not a predetermined play. It is raw material. You can shape it as you wish. You can be enslaved by your compulsions, or you can use your awareness to craft life beautifully. The question, who am I, is like the chisel that carves away the unnecessary, leaving behind the truth of your being. For most people, the problem is that they mistake roles for identity. You say, I am a parent, I am a professional, I am rich, I am poor. These are roles you play in society, useful but temporary. If you attach your identity only to them, then when circumstances change, your sense of self collapses. But the deeper self does not collapse. It is untouched by gain and loss. It is the silent background on which the drama of life plays. To discover this is liberation. Liberation does not mean running away from life. It means you are no longer enslaved by the false identifications of body and mind. You can still use the body joyfully. You can still use the mind effectively, but you know they are instruments. You are the master, not the slave. Sadhguru often says that the only way out is inward. Searching outward for identity will never yield the truth, because everything outside is impermanent. Turn inward, and you will find the boundless. Meditation is not an act of thinking about who you are. It is a process of silencing the surface so that the depth can reveal itself. When thoughts settle, when emotions calm, when the body is relaxed, what shines forth is pure awareness. That awareness is not something you create. It is always there. It is you. When you touch this dimension even for a moment, you realize you are not a separate fragment in existence. You are part of the very fabric of creation. Your body is made of the same 5 elements that make up the stars. Your life energy is a spark of the cosmic energy. Your consciousness is a doorway to the infinite. To know this not as an idea, but as a living reality, is to know who you truly are. Yet most people remain trapped in smaller identities. They think life is about collecting wealth, building status, raising families, chasing pleasures. Nothing wrong with these, but if you mistake them as the ultimate purpose, you will live in dissatisfaction, because everything you gather is temporary. Death will strip it all away. If who you are depends on what you gather, then your identity is fragile. But if you know yourself as the eternal awareness, then nothing can shake you. You can engage in life fully, but without fear. The awareness of death sharpens this question. When you realize time is limited, when you see that everything material will be taken away, then you cannot avoid the question, who am I really? If you live avoiding it, you will live superficially. But if you embrace it, your life gains intensity and depth. You will not waste time in trivialities. You will live each moment with clarity because you know life is short and precious. Human beings are the only creatures with the possibility of transformation. A stone cannot change itself. An animal lives by instinct. But a human being can break patterns, transcend conditioning, rise beyond biology. You can be born poor and live with richness of spirit. You can be surrounded by negativity and still radiate joy. You can turn suffering into wisdom. This is the power of awareness. This is the power of knowing who you are. When you live unconsciously, you create suffering for yourself and others. When you live consciously, you become a source of well-being. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every action you take leaves an imprint on the world. If your inner state is unconscious, you spread confusion. If your inner state is clear, you spread harmony. So the question, who am I, is not only personal, it is collective. Because the way you experience yourself determines how you touch the lives of others. This question is also the doorway to ultimate union. When you see that the self you thought you were is only a small bubble, and the true self is inseparable from existence, then love is no longer an emotion. It becomes your natural state. Compassion flows without effort. You no longer see others as separate, because the boundary between me and the universe dissolves. That is the highest answer to the question. Not in words, but in experience. Sadhguru says, stop seeking borrowed answers. Do not cling to second-hand truths. Sit with the question. Allow it to work upon you. Do not be in a hurry to resolve it. Because if you simply live with this one question, sincerely and intensely, it will burn away illusions. It will transform you from the inside. And one day, not through thought, but through direct experience, you will know who you are. When that knowing dawns, it does not come as a statement. It comes as a living reality. Then life becomes a celebration. Every breath, every step, every moment carries meaning, not because you defined it, but because you are fully alive. You are no longer asking life for meaning because you are the meaning. You are no longer seeking purpose because existence itself is revealed as profound. The question dissolves, and what remains is the vast silence of being. So who are you really? You are not the story you tell yourself. You are not the roles you play. You are not the possessions you hold. You are not even the body or the mind. You are the awareness in which all of these appear and disappear. You are the timeless witness, the spark of the infinite, the life that animates everything. To know this is freedom, to live this is joy, and to embody this is the highest possibility of being human.